The first round of the NFL Draft wrapped up last night. Football fans are getting an advanced look at the gridiron stars of tomorrow. Or are they? The usual big-name stars that we see at the annual event are conspicuously absent this year. Just one quarterback was drafted in the first round. Last year, teams picked up 5 quarterbacks in round 1. And it's these marquee players that fill the seats at stadiums. They help the NFL teams rake in big bucks for ticket sales and merchandising, very important. So is this the cheapest draft in history? Here to help us break it all down is Andy Dolich, a veteran sports executive who's held management positions with several major sports franchises, including the San Francisco 49ers. Go Niners, woohoo! And Eugene Lee, I grew up in California, what can I say? A sports agent who represents NFL players. Thanks to both of you guys for joining us. Eugene, let me start with you. Looking at the list, 5 picks for either offensive tackles or defensive ends. Is that unusual? It felt unusual.
No, it's not unusual. And I liken it to the analogy, if you cut off the head, the body will die.
Okay.
If you're an
That's
NFL
grisly,
team,
but you know, it's sports, so let's get as graphic as possible.
The analogy is, if you're an NFL team, the quarterback is the head of the team. So players who can rush the quarterback and players who can protect the quarterback are paid a premium. And we saw that play itself out last night with the selection of the offensive linemen and defensive linemen.
Andy, I mean, this is a show about money, so I want to try and quantify what we're talking about here. How much is making a great first-round pick worth to a team?
Well, it can be worth tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars in its asset value appreciation. I look at it like our neighbors to the north, the Napa Valley. It takes time to develop great players, and teams care about the entire entity, how they can win. You look at your favorite team, the Niners, how they've turned things around in the last 2 years. So even though there's not a lot of star power in this draft, there is a lot of really high-quality players that are going to make teams better. The NFL is the mothership of all professional sports, and you could argue that the NFL draft is a separate national holiday going along with the Super Bowl. How much money in productivity was wasted right here in the Silicon Valley with people doing their own mock drafts in the last 2 days and maybe tomorrow.
No,
so
I think
Melissa Meyer needs to be concerned about that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And in fact, you know, we are sitting 1 block from where the draft is going on, and traffic is at a standstill. There's a red carpet. I mean, I was shocked last night. There are, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people out in the street watching this. But Eugene, I wonder, you know, if a draft like this really helps teams sell tickets. If you don't have the marquee players going in the draft that everybody is talking about, you know, is it as exciting? Is it worth as much?
The excitement of the NFL, the popularity of the NFL will not fade due to a draft. The NFL generated $9.5 billion last year in revenues. The average franchise is worth $1.1 billion.
Yeah.
And the item to note is that every year, regardless if there are marquee names going in, you're going to see players emerge from the draft, whether they're drafted in the late rounds or undrafted like a Victor Cruz. Players will emerge from this draft to become marquee players.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it comes down to sports is all about telling a story, and you have hundreds of great stories, people that nobody knew from schools that nobody can pronounce, who will turn out to be NFL
But Andy,
All-Stars.
one of the stories that everybody's talking about, of course, is Manti Te'o, who didn't go in the first round. Do you think he goes in the second round? I mean, it's starting about an hour from now. How does that story play out, and you know, how much damage did the whole thing do to his career with the imaginary girlfriend?
I'm not a player personnel person, but his performance at the Combine probably had more to do with his draft status than any kind of incredible story about a fictitious girlfriend.
I agree with Andy. I think it's the value of the position. Middle linebackers, inside linebackers typically do not go high unless they show superior athletic traits, like Luke Kuechly last year went number 9 overall, I believe, to the Carolina Panthers. He ran well, but Manti didn't.
Let me ask you, Luke Joeckel will make about $285,000 more than the first pick, which was Eric Fisher, purely because he was drafted in Florida and he's not going to have to pay state income tax. Is that a factor? Do these kids care about that?
The kids care about it, the agents care even more, but that is not a bargaining chip in negotiations, unfortunately, because then you run down the slippery slope argument. Do you then adjust for cost of living? Does a player who plays for the New York Giants get paid more than a player who plays for the Green Bay Packers?
He should. It costs a lot more to buy a fabulous mansion here than it would somewhere else.
That is true, but how much do you adjust for? I mean, where do you draw the line? That's the argument.
I think it's got to be a factor. But anyway, interesting discussion. Thanks to both of you.
Okay, thank you.
Melissa.
All right, coming up on Money.